Today we're going to talk about a case that is it's as tragic as it is baffling. We're talking about the unsolved murder of a young woman with an incredibly bright future who was shot and killed in her own bed. This is the story of Rachel Hansen. Just imagine hearing those words. These are some of the last words anyone would ever hear from Rachel Hansen. In the early hours of June 4th, 2022, she somehow found the strength to call 911. She was conscious, she was fighting for her life, right after being shot in her own apartment. And even though she was rushed to the hospital and surgeons worked on her for 3 hours, it wasn't enough. Rachel died from her wound. And the really heartbreaking part, she was only 8 days away from her 20th birthday. So, the big question is, who killed Rachel Hansen? And the chilling answer is, we still don't know. To this day, there have been no arrests, no publicly named suspects. The person who walked into her apartment and fired that single shot is still out there somewhere. So to really get a grip on this tragedy, you have to understand the life that was cut short. So who was Rachel Hansen? Because she was so much more than just a headline. She was this vibrant young woman with a future that was just absolutely full of promise. I mean, Rachel was a total force of nature. Get this, she graduated high school at 16. By 19, she wasn't just working, she was running her own horse training business. On top of that, she was newly engaged, had just gotten her real estate license, and she had this amazing dream of helping families find their perfect horse properties. She was really building a life that was all about passion and purpose. But here's where things start to take a really dark turn. In the weeks right before her murder, a series of really disturbing things started happening. It was almost like a countdown, and it painted a very, very frightening picture. And the danger escalated so fast. In April, she actually reported a death threat to the police. Then she got into this really bitter job dispute, and they wouldn't give her back her beloved horse, Dash. Then, in early June, she comes home to her apartment and finds the locks have been changed. But the most terrifying part, just 2 nights before she was killed, someone came into her bedroom while she was asleep, stood there, and then just left. It's an absolutely chilling sequence of events leading right up to that day, June 4th. So you hear all that, all these massive red flags, and you have to wonder, right, what happened with the investigation? Well, this is where the story gets unbelievably frustrating, not just for Rachel's family, but for anyone who wants to see justice. Okay, so let's look at the crime scene. It was a complete puzzle. There was a single gunshot, but nothing was stolen. So you know right away this wasn't a robbery gone bad. The gun, never found. And when investigators checked her phone and her laptop, they said they were, and this is a quote, squeaky clean. She didn't seem to have any enemies, no shady connections, nothing. Which brings us back to that death threat, the one she reported back in April. So who was it? Well, police documents actually show that she accused her fiancé's father. Now, he was interviewed, but what he said, whether he was ever really a suspect, we have no idea. It's all hidden behind these blacked out lines in the police report. So the investigation basically hit a wall. And that brings us to a really important number in this case. That number is 350. So what's 350? That's how many pages are in the police report that was made public. But it's so heavily redacted, I mean key details, interviews, all just blacked out, that it left her family with more questions than answers. Now, to be fair, redactions are pretty common in cases like this, to protect witnesses or not to compromise leads. But when you're a family just desperate for the truth, it feels like a total wall of silence. And for a long, long time, that wall of silence was pretty much it. The case went cold. By early 2024, it was officially inactive, all leads exhausted. But just recently, things have started to change. Gilbert police are talking with the family again. A private investigator has even volunteered to help. And, for the first time in what feels like forever, there's a little bit of new hope. Now, in the middle of all this grief and just uncertainty, Rachel's parents have done something truly remarkable. They've made sure that her story isn't just about tragedy. It's also about hope and about her legacy. And you can see that legacy in another really powerful number, a number that represents something genuinely good that's come out of all this darkness. Over 300. That's how many dogs have been saved by an organization called Rachel's Rescue. It's an animal rescue her parents started to carry on a dream that their daughter always had. I mean, they've turned just unimaginable pain into positive action, and they're saving hundreds of animal lives, all in Rachel's name. But for justice to actually be served, there's one last number we need to talk about, and it might be the most important one yet. $15,000. That's the reward being offered by Silent Witness for any information that finally leads to an arrest in Rachel's case. Look, someone out there knows what happened, and this reward is a huge incentive for them to finally do the right thing, to come forward and help get justice for Rachel. And so, that's where we have to leave it, with that single, haunting question that echoes through this entire story. It's the question Rachel's parents, Todd and Kim, have to ask themselves every single day. Who killed their daughter? It's a question that desperately, desperately needs an answer.